Hello everybody and welcome back to the Forza Motorsport 7 information show. So in today's video guys, I'm going to be discussing some thoughts and ideas and my personal wish list for Forza Motorsport 7. Obviously the new game coming for the Forza Motorsport series. Now obviously last month, if you didn't know and you have been living under a rock, E3 was obviously last month, and Forza Motorsport 7 got revealed. So in this video guys, I'm going to be giving you my descriptions of what I hope to come into the game. There has been a few things confirmed already in Forza Motorsport 7. I'll get into that in a different video. So this is just my wish list, and I do apologise if I repeat myself a few times. I've got a big list down here in front of me written down, just a few things to talk about. And yeah, so that's going to be the basis of today's video guys. But before we get into it guys, if you're new around here, this is the Forza Motorsport 7 information show, and what we do on the show guys is we discuss Forza Motorsport 7 to the absolute max before the release in October. But anyway guys, if you do go on to enjoy today's video, please smash that like button as hard as you can and subscribe so you never miss a future Forza Motorsport 7 informational video. Like I said guys, these are my personal opinions. You may agree with them, you may not. You may want to input something yourself, and if so, please feel free to do so. I do encourage that. Leave your suggestions down there in the comments section below. Also guys, quickly before we start, I am actually just testing out this new mic setting, so let me know if you do prefer the old one or this one. Hopefully this one will be a bit clearer, so you guys can understand me a little bit better. Again, I do apologise if I repeat myself a few times. I have got quite a lot of things to get through. So firstly guys is online matchmaking. Now instead of putting us into a lobby using whatever criteria are currently used, which won't work at all, and we all end up randomly joining and backing out and rejoining until we find a lobby we like, they should show us the current lobbies including who is in them, what track they're running and what lap they are on, and let's just decide whether we want to join. Now if there's a full lobby that we want to join, then let us add ourselves to a waiting list so that we can get the next space as it becomes available in the lobby. If there are no lobbies or none with enough space for the number of people in the pre-game lobby, then players would be allowed to start a new one. Player ratings. Now okay, so instead of just using the using true skill to rate drivers, adding an element of temperament to the system would be very nice indeed, and this could be done simply by counting up and adding or subtracting points for contact and leaving the track boundaries. So for example, a player would score 10 points for every lap that had no contact and no off-roading, so such as clean laps but you know, ignoring the drafting. And 5 points for overtaking or being overtaken with no contact occurring, and 2 points for drafting with no contact occurring, and so on. You know, just stuff like that. Whilst at the other end, they'd lose 5 points every time they were involved in contact or leaving the track, and it wouldn't be fair all of the time. Obviously, some things could mess it up, but on average, a good racer would end up with a far higher score than a wrecker that absolutely ruined the lobbies. Lobbies would then require a certain score, both in terms of skill and temperament, before you could then enter them. So the in-game UI, you could move the X quit message to the left-hand side of the screen so that it sits properly with the, say the X is pitting. So there's just the X, by the way, is just like the driver, so it's just instead of a name, just the letter X. Or just delete the message on there because no one really cares who's quit the game anyway. Allowing us to increase the brightness or opacity of the racing line to make it easier or more natural to turn it off. So obviously you can start out with a full racing line and slowly decrease the opacity just to maybe 4 or 5%, and then take it off completely just so you are familiar with the game. Allowing us to show how many pit stops a player has taken in the distance to and from list. It's no good me knowing that a certain driver is only 400 feet behind me if I don't know whether he's already taking his mandatory pit stop. The next point is in-game cameras. Now, in-game cockpit modes allow us to move our head or a chair around and tweak the field of view. And different players want to see different amounts of dashboard, and the optimal field of view depends on the size of your screen and your distance from it. A one-size-fits-all solution is not good, and some of the cockpit cameras in Motorsport 6 are absurd, because making a floating mirror an option so that these cars without mirrors aren't dangerous to drive. When you draw a tiny wing mirror in the game, it's useless, but when you're really driving that car, you don't perceive the mirror to be tiny, because that's not how our eyes and brains work. You just see what's in it. And there's no way to handle this elegantly on a flat screen, so just add the option of a cheaty mirror instead. Also, an option to make the chase cam an assist, so that hardcore means definitely hardcore. Again, a bit of online lobbies. Instead of 9 class lobbies, however many specialist ones with all skill levels and all car types mixed in together, base lobbies of the player's skill and temperament score. So for example, the first few could be open hoppers with no restrictions, set to DEF, ABC, SRP in the same format as the current ABCs, so that the players can still build, tune and race cars against each other. And then the rest would be division-based hoppers of various kinds, some permanent, some rotating weekly or monthly. As players progress and their ratings increase, they gain access to more of the lobbies, losing the rag and smashing a few people out and you get demoted again. A sort of mixture of hoppers and leagues, if you like. Lobby control definitely needs to be a bit improved, because voting to kick definitely needs to work better than it already does. Also, assigning temporary host status to whoever has been in the lobby the longest might also help the player base to police itself, and that person would get to kick players without a vote and possibly have some say in the track selection. Maybe they could void an unpopular random choice or force a revote. But they'd only be the host for so long as they remained active in that lobby, and the other players could still kick them using the now functional vote to kick option. Ghosting. So in addition to ghosting cars that are stationary and cars that are driving the wrong way, the game should, number one, ghost players who fall 90% of the time of the track length behind. Even better would be if players a lap apart were ghosted relative to each other, whilst remaining fully cooperable to the other traffic close by to them. Or 2, ghost players, or simply make them invisible to everyone else, who have just entered the lobby for the first time, or just did not finish the race. Only cars that finish the previous race get to have the bodies, so think of it sort of a qualifying like baser. You run one qualifying race ghosted to prove that you are on pace, and then you get to race for for realsies, and your best lap does count as a qualification for the next race, same as everyone else's. Again, guys, some of these are a bit confusing. I mean, I know what I'm on about, but if you do have any questions, let me know down there in the comments. I'll be sure to answer. The next one, guys, is grid ordering. So the fastest lap from the previous race works really well, but people who join a new lobby should start at the back and not be shuffled randomly throughout the pack. Having a new joiner who isn't very fast dumped on pole is the #1 cause of first corner wrecks, more so even than people who forget to brake. We all know you don't. The laps are should be dirtied by drafting. Laps dirtied by drafting should not be discounted for the purposes of starting grids. Excluding them from the leaderboard is fine, but you shouldn't be punished for close racing, because that's all about racing. The basic, the multi-sporty aspect of the game. So design the career mode around the promotion of driving skills, kind of like in Horizon, but rather than the acquisition of lots of content. Meaningful starts. It would be so much interesting if there was a skill to starting well beyond just holding down the throttle until the counter gets to 0, such as something like Need for Speed, getting the perfect launch, etc. Races should finish at the end of the lap. Races I'll get there eventually. Races should finish at the end of the lap the leader crosses the line. This is the case where all motorsport everywhere. Lapped cars should not have to carry on the full distance, especially the track is now full of AI controlled cars that have already finished, aimlessly and erratically meandering around the track. Everyone should see the bloke waving the checkered flag. Get rid of all the tar walls littered around to prevent cutting and instigate a penalty system. I'd personally favour just making the player coast for long enough to take rid of any advantage gained, but without actually slowing them down as much. But if the rating system that I described earlier was in use, then corner cutting would automatically damage your score, so you'd already have a disincentive. Spectator mode is rubbish at the moment. You can't even tell what position players are in, let alone any of the other useful bits of info that you'd expect to find in such a mode. Lap number, distance to and from, split times, etc., and which would make good esports is so much more entertaining, but it needs to look as much like TV coverage as possible to make the realism stand out. Like Project Cars 2, it's going for the realism. Forza Motorsport 7 should really go for something like this. Finally, guys, on the spectator mode, automatically streaming it into the lobby so that anyone waiting can watch the race in action without having to load the games themselves. Again, this would be incredibly esports friendly. A few more things in this little bit, guys. So rivals, allowing us to set a time per division rather than just one per class, and adding a delete option to the leaderboards that allow us to expunge our own time and set a new, possibly slower, but a new lap time. For teams, we're going to add or re-add support, just allowing them to share open tunes and paints, and some team-based elements to the events, leagues and leaderboards would do it. You can see from the fact that so many players pay actual money to change their gamer tags, there's obviously a demand for it. And there's a whole load of community goodwill sitting there waiting for you. All you have to do is embrace it, and it's basically free. Obviously, guys, the loading screen, so players can spend a huge amount of time staring at these. My personal record, if you're completely interested, is about 10 to 15 minutes just staring at a goddamn loading screen. But they're so, they're dull. I can think about a million ways. Even the GTA loading lobbies are interesting, and they take about an hour. But enough about GTA. Back onto Forza. I can think of a million ways to make them more interesting, but listing the relevant lap records and track info, names of corners and so on would be a nice addition. But while I'm at it, would it not be possible for the game to start loading the track into memory as soon as the vote is complete? That way, by the time the countdown hits 0, everyone's machine has already been loading for 55 seconds. And finally, guys, a bit of track voting ideas. So treat tracks and conditions separately. A track with 3 variants and a day, night, wet and dry versions of each should not show up 9 times as often as a track with just 1. We shouldn't have to race Le Mans 9 times just to race Bathurst once, if you get my drift. No track should appear as a choice if any variant of that track has been raced with the previous 10 races in that hopper. And 2 versions of the same track should never show up at the same time, such as a dry or wet version or day or night version. And the random choice should never ever throw up a track that is a different variant of one that has just been rejected. I have a few more things here, guys. I'm going to just quickly explain to you now what they are. So, this is me, again, it's my personal wishlist, guys. There is quite a lot of things to go through, and I have got a F-load more to come. So I'm going to give you those in a second part of this video, just to give you guys a little bit of a rest. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to end the video here, and I'm going to go ahead and record the second part of this video. And once you're watching this video, guys, this will be part 1. It's going to be coming probably within the next few hours or in the morning. Either way, stay tuned for that, and we'll get you all in the next one. But that's it for me in today's video, guys. I did hope you enjoy it. Again, let me know down there in the comment section below what you guys think and what you'd like to see in Forza Motorsport 7. But like I said, guys, that's it for me in today's little video. I did hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.